and concentrated on that. So you say, if it's a more, would an apology work? Now, what do you think what would be my response to that? Yeah, it's something we can consider. But we were already moving away from the figures of the mediation, because I mentioned something that took us out. And since then, I have learned you have to be intentional about your sentences. You have to be intentional about the words you use. That is why we emphasize, do not say anything when you are annoyed, because you will regret it. The same with our drafting. Be intentional. If it doesn't add to your story, remove it. The beauty with the drafting is that you've got time to reflect upon it, not like oral submissions. For oral submissions, once you've said those words, they are gone. For written submissions which you've drafted, you can edit them. So take that time to edit your work. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. Ben Franklin. Similar words also is reflected in one of the Chinese proverbs. May I therefore have one of you tell us one of the cases you are working on, and we work on to see what we've been talking about. As a teacher and a trainer, I don't believe in talking. I don't believe in having a monologue. I believe in the last line, involve me and I learn. Can anybody help us with a case he or she is working on? And we work with that to see how we can put into use what we've had this morning. Thank you. Somebody help me move the microphone. Go ahead. Any volunteer? Oh, I don't have litigators in the room. There's no case you people are working on. It's sub judice. I like the way that principle is being used these days. Give us a case you're working on, or the case that you finished, if you fear it's sub judice. Okay, let me take an hypothetical case to Garden City, and it got knocked at the traffic light when it was red. What would you put in your pleadings? Oh, these are commercial lawyers. What would you put in your pleadings? I'm not taking you back to school. So our cause of action would be negligence. What are the ingredients of negligence? Duty of care, right? And we would need to prove that. But if we go back, can we have the slides back? Are you going to say duty of care and that's enough? Are you going to say duty of care and that's enough? So how do you frame that in your pleadings? What would you be looking at? That's what I want us to look at. And don't tell me that I have a duty of care. Show me. Show the court. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So quickly, the facts establishing that duty, the time, showing my, let's say I'm a licensed road user. I have to show that I'm licensed. If I'm on a border or if I'm driving, that's for duty. And I was in the, of course, you have to be, let's say, on the left in this country. You're using the road rightly. Yeah, time, of course, is two factors as to.
What do you mean by facts?
No, all the facts. That was the first statement, but that is
okay.
Yeah. Time also. Am I permitted to drive at that time? Is it locked down? What were you doing at that time in that place? So that's show that you other road users have a duty to you and you have a duty to them.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members. I think it would also be critical to point out the fact that at the time when the accident occurred, the lights were red. That is a critical fact because it speaks to what the expectation of the road user was, or the user of the road.
Okay. Let's go to this word. What do you get this expectation? You may want to explain yourself.
When talking about the duty of care without really calling it the duty of care, the law and principles have set the parameters for you to determine whether or not it was a duty of care in a situation where you're pleading negligence.
I entirely agree with you.
Yes. So,
but my concern is about this word, expectation, and you're pleading.
When you're pleading the particulars of negligence, most of our drafting you usually end.
So let me ask the question differently. What synonym would we use? Because if I say, what was the expectation of the driver? What comes to mind?
Would we call it a requirement?
Yeah.
What was required of the driver?
Yes, we're getting closer to that. So you see how you work through it? What was required of the driver? It's different from expectation. What was demanded? What did the red light imply to the driver? It's different from expectation. Do we get it? And so you work through each and every little word. But if you had just put this in your pleadings, then you have a challenge. And the judges will be saying, what do you mean by expectation? Some of the judges we've gone before, they will even ask you, counsel, you don't have a cause of action. Or take me through your cause of action. You know there's a problem. They have read your document, but they have not appreciated it. So you have got to use the right word. Anybody else to add on to this list? Okay. If there are no more, we get back to this. Kindly get back the microphone to him. So what are you going to tell us about time?
Time has quite a number of facets. There's day, of course, night, visibility. Time I also meant because...
Yes, let's move slowly. Day of... Visibility.
I also, because it was hypothetical, I thought of also a situation if it were like COVID. So in that, would you be permitted to drive at that time? Therefore...
that would be more to do with season.
Pardon?
That is more to do with the season.
Okay, season. Let's maybe put it as another factor.
Yes.
Time also in the sense of road management. If the lights are on, it's green.
We have the lights here.
Okay.
So you see whether it's day or night and whether there is visibility. Okay? But that is okay. Now, let's contextualize it. Assuming this guy is a litigation lawyer and you are aware that he was going to court and it was 8:45. 8:45 a.m. Will it add anything here? He's a litigation lawyer, 8:45 a.m. Does it add anything to your interpretation of time? Remember, it's about negligence. You owe the duty of care was breached, and the victim suffered. Yes?
Yes. You see, I had merged. Some of those aspects are not independent of
Yes.
each other. Yes.
Not independent.
You got at 8:45, but you owe a duty of care to that person. If it turns red, you must stop. Time.
Speak to the microphone. I'm sure there are people online.
Sorry. Like the time aspect is tied to, for example, light, traffic light.
Yes.
At the time I reached the lights, it turned red.
Yes.
You must stop. If I beat the lights and I knock somebody.
So he's telling us that the time aspect is tied to the lights.
Some of the aspects are not independent.
Pass over the microphone.
I would look at it in terms of speed.
Yes.
Because
do we have speed here? No.
Assuming,
so we add
yes
speed.
I take it because I'm assuming that hope for a court is at 9. Hopefully, this is 8:45. It means you are trying to catch up with time to be in court on time. Chances are high that you might be overspeeding. Okay? Yes.
So then,